Welcome to Coach's Corner with Coach Eric Strothers. Coming up on Coach's Corner, this Father's Day, we honor all men who are fathers, those on earth and in heaven. And we continue part 2 of Coach's Corner with the father of Mississippi basketball, Thomas Billups. I'm Katina Rankin, co-hosting on this Father's Day edition of Coach's Corner with Eric Strothers. Let's strut. Welcome to Coach's Corner, where we have another edition of Coach Thomas Billups joining us on the Eric Strothers Show. Last week, we talked about your childhood and where you grew up, and now we're going to talk about Tougaloo and how the two of you became connected. So, Coach Strothers, take it away.
Well, I was at, of course, I was at Jackson State, and then I matriculated to Mississippi Valley. And I was at Valley for 4 to 5 years, and they had offered me the interim coach for 1 year. And I was at home, and they called me and said, well, we got somebody else. And I was talking to Coach Billups every day about the job because I wanted to emulate some of the things that he was doing at Tougaloo. So once I told him that I wasn't going to get the job, he called and said, Coach, you can come work for me. He said, come work for me and let's build a dynasty together. And then one thing when he talked about building a dynasty, I was very, very interested in. And then he said after I won another championship, he had already just won a championship, and he wanted to bring me on. He said, when I win another championship, I'm going to turn this thing over to you and give you a chance to be a head coach. And that's how we really, really just got connected. He brought me on to Tougaloo, and I'm very happy with his decision. And we just became a good tandem, and we're a good team.
On the last season, the last episode that we had, rather, is what I should say, you were talking about getting the job at Tougaloo, and you got to Tougaloo, and you broke some records at Tougaloo. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, well, when I first got there, it was kind of tough because I got hired in July. And at that time, all the recruits had already signed with the school. And so I had to take some of the kids that was already players that was already there. And I got a couple players from junior college that hadn't even made the senior college team. They was out there, so I just had a tryout and got about 3 or 4 of them. My first year at Tougaloo, we went 14-14, and from that time on, we did real good in basketball. So the year that we won the championship, I had one of the kids that I coached at Lanier High School, Tunzel Handy. You talking about a beast? He was a beast. We set some records like number 4 in the nation, number 6, 13 in that nation. That year, that team went 28-5. We won the conference tournament, and we won the regular season. We won the regular season for that conference, and we went on and went to the national tournament. But, we didn't do good at the national, but we got there. So, during that time, I say, myself and Coach Strothers always, like he said, we always talk to each other. And we always said this: if I got a head coaching job, I was going to bring him as my assistant. But at the time I got the head job, he was the assistant at Valley. So we always said that if he got one, I was going to be his assistant. So after he stayed in coaching so long, and I knew he deserved a head coaching job in college. But I guess they didn't have the right people at the time at the school. So, the Jackson State job came open 2 or 3 times. And I put in an application also, but, because if I got the job, he was going to come with me. If he got it, I was going with him. So we never did make connection like that. They never gave us a chance, and which is good. I don't care about that. I always know what I can do in basketball. So after that, Coach Strother left Jackson State, went to Mississippi Valley, and we still stayed in connection with each other. Matter of fact, we was coaching cross country. He was coaching girls. He was coaching cross country at Valley, and I was coaching cross country at Tougaloo. So we stayed in connection with each other, and one of my assistants that I had, I told him that I was going to bring another assistant in. I told him I appreciate everything he did, but I'm going to go in another direction. So I brought Coach Strothers in. And, but the night before, I had talked to another coach that I was going to hire because I thought Coach Strothers had the head job at Valley, but they didn't give it to him. So it was good that Coach Strothers called me that next day and told me, because I was going to hire another coach, and I went back and I told the coach I found me an assistant coach, a guy that I'd always wanted to bring with me. Mm-hmm. And I told him it was Coach Strothers. He said, Coach, no problem. He deserved to be with you. And so I brought him on with me, and like he said that, I said, I've been in this thing for a long time. And Coach Strothers didn't get the head job at Valley or Jackson State. I said, Coach, you come on to work with me for 3 years, and after I win this thing again, I'm going to give you the head coach, and I'm going to be your assistant. So that's the way it went.
We worked on another project together, the three of us. And I found some very interesting parallels between the two of you. Coach Strothers wouldn't talk to me unless I talked to you. He was like, you have to talk to Coach Billups because he is like my father figure. So I want you to tell me more about that, and then I'm going to tell you what Coach Billups said about you.
Okay. Well, like I said, we always kept in contact with each other. Even when I played at Jackson State, I used to see Coach all the time. He say, Coach, Stretch, you need to do this more. You need to get on the weights more. He just was a motivator for me, And then he was the father's figure to say, hey, don't do this. You need to do that. And plus, he worked with my mother. He was from Viva. He worked at the high school with my mother. So we had a lot of ties, and his wife knew my mother. They was good friends, and we just had a lot of bonds together, and we talked a lot. But one thing about Coach Billups, if he like you, he like you. If he dislike you, he dislike you. So I know that he liked me, and he recruited one of my players that I had at Jackson State named Kelsey Howard. And he used to call me every day. That's how I knew he was a really good recruiter. Because, guys will call you 1-2 times about a player, but then they never call you back. Kelsey Howard played for me his freshman year. It was all freshmen at Jackson State. And at that time, the coach didn't want Kelsey. So he called me every day about Kelsey. And we got Kelsey over to Tougaloo, and he done really well for Coach. And we just bonded together, and we just kept talking. And definitely when I came over, the year I came over to coach with Coach Bill, he had just won the GCAC. So, it ain't like he needed my help because he had just won it, but he was just saying he had to do so much. And just for him to, run that program by himself, man, it just tells you a lot about, Coach Billups' coaching style, just about his work ethic and how hard he worked, because one man can't do that job. It really, Tougaloo need like 6 assistant coaches to run the Tougaloo program, because it takes a lot to run a program, but it takes a lot to have a winning program. And what we talked about is building a dynasty like he built at Lanier. And I wanted to be a part of that. And he said, once you come, Coach, I'm going to give you a chance to be a head coach. And I think we're on our way to building a dynasty at Tougaloo.
Speaking of, when I interviewed you about starting this dynasty the last time, I asked you what you liked about Strothers. And I don't know if you remember your response, but you said, he's just like me. Tell us how he's just like you.
Well, he's going to work hard. That's the first thing. He's going to work hard. He's not going to let other coaches how to work it. And I did that in high school and also at Tougaloo. And also, when you talk about basketball, now I done learned something from him since he came to Tougaloo.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Tell me
And
about
I've
that.
been in it 46 years. Well, it's 47 years. But I learned his work ethic. And, I thought I was the working this coach in the state.
18 to 20 hours, didn't you tell me?
Right.
A day.
Yeah. But when he came in, all the stuff that just what he mentioned a few minutes ago, I didn't have to worry about that. Because I let him with the work. He did almost everything. He took over the team, but I just let him work because I knew I saw him at Jackson State and how he handled kids at Jackson State. But, it's all, you just got to work hard. You just can't be there for the money. You got to work with the kids. You got to graduate them. I think the time that I've been at Tougaloo before this year, I think I graduated 32 of them. And that's pretty good.
That is.
And but you have to stay on them now. And I'll never change my style of coaching because I'm not going to change for anybody. When I'm winning, if I was losing, somebody might be able to come talk to me and tell me. But I'm winning. That's my style. And that's the only style. A lot of people ask me, who you want to coach? Who you want figure your style of coaching after? I said, I always tell them Thomas Billups. And that's and I wanted to be that way. And and it need to stay that way because I coach my way. And that's the way it should be.
So do you guys think that it's interesting, I know it's divine, that you all ended up together? Because, you meet football and he's coaching you. And then you all played some of the same sports, the majority of them. You mentioned about how you all coach the same thing, but cross country.
Right.
And now you're together again.
Well, like I say, previous times, I tell you, he's a baseball player. I grew up, my father was AAA, so baseball guy. So I grew up playing baseball. My best sport is baseball, just like his best sport is baseball. And my second best sport is football. My third best sport is basketball. But I got kind of caught up in basketball because I went from like 6 feet to 6'8". So I fell in love with basketball, and I think coaches in love with basketball. Just to see his work ethic right now, he still got the work ethic that he had when I played, that he has today. So he still got that fire. He still know coaching. He know things. He correct me all the time. Hey, coach, you need to do this. You need to do that. And then I correct. We correct each other. We show each other that mutual respect. And I let him coach, and he let me coach. So we matched our system together, which is a really good system. And guys, we got guys from our conference now from G asking to come play for us because they want to play in our system. And that's what it's all about. You find some coaches that you really want to play with. You find good players that you really want to play with.
Why do they want to play with you guys?
We tough. First of all, the discipline part. Players nowadays, they say different, but all they want is a little discipline. And coach bring the discipline. I'm a little relaxed on them a little bit, but coach don't let them get away with nothing. I let them get away with things, but coach don't let them get away with anything.
So we got the lion and the lamb.
That's right.
So it's the bottom line is the reason player want to play for us because all we do is win, win, and win.
Yeah.
So when you're winning, players want to come.
And I guess that's why both of you are Hall of Famers.
Right.
Let's talk about these Hall of Fames that you're in.
Well, of course, I'm in the Jackson State Hall of Fame. And, I started from nothing with that. I was a walk-on. And it was tough. It was some tough times, but the men that have been in my life, it helped me. My father, Percy Strothers, got Coach Billups, Coach Stockman, Coach Anderson, Sylvester Anderson. are on the way to build the character that I have today that helped me be a Hall of Famer there at Jackson State. And then, of course, I'm a Hall of Famer in the SWAC.
Okay, Coach.
Well, my Hall of Fame is, it's Mississippi Coaches Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
So, I thought I should have went a little earlier because I'm the winningest coach in the state of Mississippi.
Right.
But I understand, that there was a lot of people that was in line. But I always thought that you always take the person that done won the most games. But it's fine. I mean, I don't want people to give me anything. It didn't matter with me. And the bottom line, what I just said a few minutes ago, all I want to do is win, win, win.
You have more than 600 wins at Lanier, do you?
Oh yeah. I probably got total in high school when I went, probably got about 700 wins in high school. Just, and Eric told me the other day, about 3 weeks ago, said that he gave me my record in college at 2. It was over 100 wins. And, about 50-some losses, I believe, or something like that. But that's good at a college level. But, like I said, it's, you got to work hard to win. Don't just wish for a win. You got to make it happen.
I have to talk to you about your family. Drop down your glasses, but I have to talk to you about your family because you said that you married your high school sweetheart,
Right.
but yet you spent 18 to 20 hours a day at work. You had to have a very understanding mate.
You know what? My wife, she was just like I am. She knew that I wanted to be one of the top coaches in the state. So it didn't matter. It didn't matter with her, but she knew what it takes. How many hours I had to put in order to win. So, and that was the reason I really came from Vicksburg, is because my kids, and I wanted to teach them, I wanted to coach them. I coached my daughter in volleyball. I coached my son. He played 4 years for me. So that's all what matters to me. When you get a chance to coach your own kids, you did everything you can do in coaching.
You are a wealth of knowledge and almost 5 decades in the business. To some recent graduate who wants to coach, what advice would you give them?
I would tell them, don't get into coaching because you want to coach. You got to love it. You got to want to win. Don't get in it for the money, which is, it's good for money. But once you get in it to make the money, you're not going to have a winning season. That's what I tell my son. I had to play against him a couple of times in order to win the state championship. And he always, when people interview him, he always said, he knew that my dad was not going to pull, we used to say, pull the dogs off of him, pull the horses off of him. He knew that the only way he could beat me is his team had to be better than mine, and he had to high coach me. And he said, my dad wasn't going to give me anything. I had to work for it. And sometimes, we go back, and I get a little
emotional.
Yeah, when I talk about it. Because I know how hard it was for me to go.
Yeah.
So I get a little emotional.
And we understand because it was rough. You talked about not having the inside bathroom on the last show that we were on, and as my granny used to say, the ice box instead of the refrigerator. But you persevered and you made it. I really want to end with you with saying this, and it's what a lot of people don't know. They talk about how feisty you are, but you're feisty because you had to work hard to get where you are. But what I'm getting to is most people don't know this. if your kids need something that you coach, you give it to them. In one of the last interviews I did with you, you told me that when some of your players didn't have clothes, you called your wife to come up there and take those kids shopping so they could get clothes. Could you tell us a little about that?
Well, my son, before he got to the high school level, at Lanier at that time, we poor part of the town.
Mm-hmm.
Most of them didn't have mom or dad. Some of them had grandmama and had mom only. And a couple of my players would come to school with the same pair of pants on every other day. And they probably had 2 pair of pants. And my wife would come to practice sometimes just to come in and maybe just look or just come in because she loved Lanier. And one evening she came in and I was getting on one of my players real hard. I said, why you didn't come to school today? That's one thing I want to let y'all know. It just wasn't basketball now. Those kids had to come to school. They had to make good grades. But to get back to that, he told me, the kid told me, I said, why you didn't come to school? He said, Coach, I didn't have no pants. I didn't have no clothes. And my wife was sitting over there. I called her. I said, go buy him 5 sets of, if you have to go to Walmart, go to Walmart, 5 sets of pants and shirts so he can come to school. And that's what we did for kids.
I'm sure we're
And you know what? And when you do things for kids like that, they gonna love you there. They gonna care about you. And I cared about them because they love me.
And I think that's what your legacy will be, don't you? And not maybe perhaps the winningest coach in history, in Mississippi history. But I think it will be how you really genuinely care for your kids. So on behalf of the community, let me say thank you. Thank you for your graciousness. Thank you for your kindness. Thank you for being willing to open up and share your story with us. It means the world. And Coach Strothers said, I want him to be my first guest.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that.
Yeah. He's the best in the business.
Best in the business.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I get like this all the time because I know how the kid had what they had to do and what I had to do to help them.
Mm-hmm. And it just shows that you have a great heart.
Well, I try to do the right thing.
Anything else you want to tell us before we close out?
Well, nothing. That just we are like Coach Strutt say we too hard-nosed coaches. We old school coaches, and I think he got it from me being old school. But it's good, as long as the kid. We don't have to worry about people out there talking about how tough we are. As long as our kid come and graduate, and we get them graduated, we win championship, and we stay in touch with each other, and we love each other. That's the bottom line.
Coach Strothers, thank you for letting me do this because your whole show is the premise of people getting to know you all and getting to know your heart. And so even though it's your show, you're allowing me to ask these questions. So I'm appreciative because I learned so much about Coach Billups, and I hope the community learns a lot about him too.
Yeah. They know he's the best in the business. So I'm just proud. I'm proud to be a part of his legacy because it's just his legacy. Is my show, but he brought me on to Tougaloo, and that started my legacy. So I'm starting a legacy. He already got a legacy going. I'm starting mine. So I feel real privileged to be a part of Coach Billups, and just a privilege to have him around every day. When I see him, I know I'm gonna get some type of knowledge. I've learned something different from him every week, and it makes our program grow. And you seen how our program grew in the last 3 years. I've been his assistant for 3 years, and this is the first time that Coach Billups been an assistant under me. So this is his first year as being an assistant. And he got the assistant coach of the year in our conference. So you know how great he was, how great assistant he was this year for me.
Well, as you once said, you're a man's man, because anybody who does that is truly a man.
Right.
So thank you.
Well, anytime.
And that's going to do it for us on this week's edition of Coach's Corner.
And I'm Eric Strothers, and join me next week and see who's in my corner.
Again, happy Father's Day. We hope your day has been enjoyable. We dedicate this show in memory and honor of Percy Strothers.